I was shocked that Han Solo was gone. That means I'll never get to share a scene with him again. It's not our story anymore. Those are the words of Mark Hamill, and they perfectly capture the bittersweet sting so many of us felt. For years, fans dreamed of seeing Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Leia Organa together one last time. We imagined the banter and the shared history, but that reunion never came. So in his recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Mark Hamill admitted he had serious reservations about coming back for the sequels. The story behind why is more complicated than you might think. It turns out Mark Hamill never really wanted to return for the sequels at all. He believed trying to recapture the original magic was a mistake, an attempt to catch lightning in a bottle twice? So how did he end up back in the Jedi robes? The story involves peer pressure, creative clashes, and an actor's deep, protective love for a character that defined his life. This isn't just about making a movie. It's about how Luke's return felt less like a triumphant homecoming and more like a hostage situation. Mark's journey through the sequel trilogy was marked by a series of shocks that challenged his understanding of the character he had embodied for 4 decades. First was the Vanishing Act in The Force Awakens. Hamill expected to be the core part of the story, only to discover he had one silent scene at the very end. But the real gut punch was learning that Harrison Ford's Han Solo was being killed off. This wasn't just a plot point, it was a definitive end of an era. It meant that the on-screen reunion fans craved was impossible. For Hamill, it was a real missed opportunity. And for all of us. Second was a fundamental disagreement over Luke's soul in The Last Jedi. Director Rian Johnson presented a broken, cynical hermit who had cut himself off from the Force. Hamill was stunned. Jedi don't give up, he insisted to Johnson. He felt like this version of Luke was so alien that he had to think of him as a different character entirely, famously calling him Jake Skywalker, because he was not his Luke Skywalker. So with all these reservations, why did he sign on? The answer is surprisingly simple: peer pressure. Hamill was initially convinced that Harrison Ford, who was famously unsentimental about Star Wars, would never agree to return. But then the news broke. Once I saw in the press that he had accepted, Hamill recalled, I felt like I had been drafted. He joked, though he was half serious, that if he were the only one to say no, he'd be the most hated man in the galaxy. When you strip it all down, this is a story of an actor torn between loyalty to his character and his professional duty to a director. He even publicly stated that he fundamentally disagreed with almost every choice made for Luke, a comment he later regretted making so openly. Contrast those issues with his celebrated return in The Mandalorian. Why was that so different? For Hamill, it was a chance to finally fill in a crucial missing piece of Luke's story. He famously said, Luke had a beginning and an end, there was no middle. The sequels had jumped from hopeful farm boy to the broken hermit, denying fans a chance to see Luke Skywalker as a true Jedi Master at the peak of his powers. His appearance on the show, single-handedly decimating an army of dark troopers, was the powerful moment he felt was missing. It was a gift to him and to the fans. Mark showered praise on the showrunners Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, saying they get Star Wars and speak the same language as George Lucas, a validation he admitted he questioned in the sequels. So right there, I would say those are some shots fired at J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni get Star Wars just like George Lucas got Star Wars. Since the sequels wrapped, Mark Hamill has, like a true diplomat, walked back some of his more pointed criticisms. He's praised Rian Johnson's skill as a filmmaker and acknowledged that creative differences are a normal part of any project. He expressed regret that their private debates became public spats that fueled fan division. But even with that professional courtesy, you can still feel the echo of his initial disappointment. The regret that lingers isn't just that he returned, but that Luke Skywalker's final cinematic journey didn't end on the note of unwavering hope he'd always envisioned for the character. So what's your take? Was Luke's portrayal in the sequels a brave evolution that challenged our ideas of heroism? Or was it a betrayal of a beloved character's legacy, with Mark Hamill being the first to see the danger? Should he have followed his gut and stayed away from the chaos of the sequels? What would the sequels have been like without him? If you enjoy unpacking the drama behind a galaxy far, far away without needing a droid manual to understand it, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've got more lore and more behind-the-scenes stories coming your way.